Hello guys, welcome back to the tutorial. Now that we have configured our event with all the elements that we have incorporated into the user experience, it's time to learn how to configure the chat widget. So the chat widget can be seen right in the lobby, and then it can be seen in all the pages that we would further navigate into. I'm just going to teach you how to configure the permissions and the access for this particular chat. That includes the poll, Q&A, and feedback that we're going to be covering in the auditorium. So the chat admin or the chat backend is going to be different than the one that we've been using so far. So this is the admin that we've been using to configure our platform, but the admin for chat is admin-v2.platoo.in. You can log in with the same set of credentials that you used to log into the main admin. Once you're here, you will see this option. The first thing that you would want to do is go down to the option that says settings. So this is where you control the chat widget in terms of the options that you want to give your attendees. So the first setting is for the global site settings. So from these controls, you're going to control all of the pages at the same time, or you can look at individual pages. So right now you can see that the chat panel has been enabled into the lobby of the Experience Center. The chat feature has been enabled. Q&A, poll, and feedback is something that is required in the auditorium when the live session is in progress, which is why it is disabled here. And then we've got voice and video call, which we have enabled in the lobby, which is why on the platform you've got the option to see the chat widget, and you've got the option to place voice and video calls with anybody who's on the attendee list. So just to give you a brief overview of how the chat widget actually works, the first thing that you need to know is the attendees. So attendees is basically where everybody is online on the platform. Right now it just shows everybody offline at the moment. But everybody who's online on the platform is going to be visible here in the attendee list. In case of an online viewer, this would turn into a green circle. So this is going to show you all the attendees who are live on the platform. Moving on, we've got My Chats. So My Chats is where every interaction that you have had is going to be displayed. The groups are going to be displayed first. So let's look at how to create the groups. This one is a public group which is open to everyone. But on Platoo, you can also create groups with any number of people that you want them to join your group. Let's just name this test for now, and you simply click on create and it's going to create your group right here. Now we've got this info button, which is basically to see all the members who are on this group. You can remove them from here as well, or you can add more members from the list by this option. This particular option is going to start a video call with everybody who's live on the platform in that particular group. So this is a group video call that you can start with this option, or you can share your business cards on the platform with your group or with individual users as well. The only way that the business card option works is if you have filled in this user form here. So you can see that the name has been entered in this column, the designation, workplace, phone number, and then email ID is something that it picks up by default. So if I click on edit, it will give me the option to change my name or my designation. You can put in your workplace details. So every information that you put in here is going to be saved as your business card. And this is what is, you can also upload an image if you wish. It needs to be in the resolution of 150 by 150. Once you upload an image here, that becomes your user profile in the attendee list as well. If you see this icon, it will start showing your picture here as well. So once you've filled in this particular user profile, you'll be able to send business cards to anyone on the platform. You can simply go to that particular option and you can share a business card with anyone that you want. So right now, my option has been shared, my visiting card has been shared on the group. and viewers can now access my information. So if I go to groups and if I open this particular group and if I share my visiting card, it's going to give this prompt to all the users who are on that group, and they'll be able to download this option very comfortably from here. This opens in whichever software you use to source your contacts. So on Windows there is people, on it could open in Outlook as well. It really depends on the kind of configuration that you have. So these are the two options that you need to know of in the lobby. And to set this up, all I have done is I've enabled chat panel, chat feature, and voice and video call from the chat admin. Moving on, the auditorium, which is where the poll, Q&A, and the feedback come into play. To do this, I'm going to take you to the auditorium, and we're going to look at how that chat is going to be different than this one. If you notice, we've got permissions enabled for Q&A poll and feedback as well. So this is how it appears here. So this particular option is for, again, the attendees. Then you've got my chat, and this time we've also got a Q&A. So how does this work? So it's a very simple function that you need to understand for any Q&As or any questions that, right now I'm acting as an attendee or as a visitor on the platform. So the moment the visitor sends a question on so you get a prompt that your question has been submitted to the moderator for approval. And this appears here in the Q&A section on the chat admin, that is the V2 admin. So if you click on Q&A, you're going to get the question that was just published. This was the question. It is also going to tell you which auditorium that particular Q&A is coming from right here in auditorium title. So right now this is coming from one auditorium which we have on the platform. In case of multiple auditoriums, it will give you the auditorium title that you set from the admin. That is the main admin. Now if you click on approve, this question is going to be approved. The user is going to get a prompt that the question has been approved and it's going to be published. You can also choose to delete questions from here, or you can simply unapprove a question that you do not want to be reflected. So it's as simple as that. That's how Q&A works on the platform. Moving on to the feedback. That is, feedback is something that will be following, right? Sorry, we are moving on to the polls right now. So it's very simple to configure the poll settings here on the page. So for most of the settings, you're going to see a list and then an option to add that particular room or that particular poll. So first we're going to go to list poll. When you're on list poll, you'll see that there is this option that has been disabled, that says enable feedback. The moment I do this, you can type in any notification here. It could be feedback is active. It really depends on the kind of push notification that you want to send across. So once, I'm just going to refresh this because we've just, enabled feedback as well. So what this is going to do is this is going to allow feedbacks to be published onto the poll, which would be displayed here under the thumbs up icon. So this is where your feedback polls would be redirected to. So it's as simple as that. We're going to go ahead and add a poll. Now, on Platoo, you can publish 3 kinds of polls. The most simplest of them is the star. This is the preview of the question that you would get. And emoji, they basically work with the same function, different aesthetics. And then you've got MCQs. So multiple choice questions. Again, you can type in your question. You can select your answer. You can add as many options that you want. Let's say I want to start with 4 options. I've done that. I've put in my question. Now we've got the options to turn this into a private poll. So in this case, the answers won't be reflected to other viewers. So if I don't select this, the answers are going to be turned into a graph, which we're going to look at shortly, and that will be visible to all live attendees. If I select on this, it will not be reflected. The data will only be stored with me as the moderator, and the attendees would not be able to look at the feedback or the results of that particular poll. So this is feedback poll. Clicking on this, what this does is it enables this particular question into the feedback section of the polls. And then you've got the option to select the auditorium. Again, since I only have one auditorium on the page here, which is why it just shows one here. But in case of multiple auditoriums, you would have a drop down here from which you can select the auditorium in which you want to publish this poll. Once you've done that, just click on submit. It's going to add your poll to the list. Now, if I go to list poll, this particular question is going to be displayed there. So from here, I've got the option to publish it. If I click on view poll, I'll be able to update the selections that I have made, and I can update, make changes to the poll if I wish. But the moment I click on publish, what it's going to do is it's going to publish the poll to the auditorium. And all users are immediately going to get this option that a new poll has been published. And if you noticed, the moment you click on it, irrespective of where you are, it's going to take you to the polls section. So when attendees select a particular answer, what it does is, like I said, it creates a graph. If you hover over that graph, you'll see the responses. So B has one response. In case of multiple responses, this would be a more segregated or a divided chart between the answers and the percentage of the selection that you've received. So this is it. This is how polls work. I'm just going to add another poll for an emoji. Star is basically again this exact same principle. So I'm going to publish this to the auditorium and I'm going to click on submit. Let's publish this. It says new poll has been added, and there you have the next question. So this was the previous question that we already answered, and then you have the new question. You can select your answer, and this time it's going to be reflected in a graph. So this is how your ratings can work. You can always choose to publish these polls in this section as well. To do that, you simply go to the admin, and this is where your answers are stored as well. This is, in case of multiple answers, this sheet would be much more detailed with all the selections that your attendees have made. So as I was saying, to make sure that your polls are reflected here in the feedback section, you simply have to select this is feedback poll while you're publishing any kind of a question onto the platform. So that's how simple it is. If this is toggled on and if you save your poll with this particular option toggled on, all the polls that you publish will be displayed here in the feedback. That will only happen if you enable feedback in the first place from list poll. So it's as simple as that. Polling is very simple and very convenient on the platform in terms of monitoring your results, making it a private poll or a feedback poll, or keeping it open for all your attendees. So we've covered the polls, we've covered the Q&A, and we've looked at the feedback section as well. That pretty much covers everything that you're going to be needing to configure your chat admin on the platform. Just one other thing, when you scroll down to the exhibition, you will notice that there's an option that says, you'll find this option in other pages as well, but this can be ignored in the other pages because exhibitor calls would only become prominent in the exhibition settings. So if you notice, if I enable allow only exhibitor calls, it disables my attendees video and voice call function. So what does this mean? This means that when a particular viewer or a particular visitor goes to an exhibition booth, only the exhibitor would be allowed to place video and voice calls. If you want to have like a one-way communication with your attendees without, while preventing your attendees to interact amongst themselves, if you wish to capture their attention, you can select to allow only exhibitor calls in the exhibition settings. So that is pretty much all you need to know to configure your chat widget. Next, we would be looking at is the notification. So this is a push notification, which can be browser based. You have the option to send a browser based notification or a notification for everyone who's logged into your platform. This can again be a feedback poll, Q&A, or a general notification. So any message that you type here and you click on submit, what it does is it adds that notification onto the platform. So the moment you're on the platform and if you publish a particular push notification, it would be reflected here instantaneously. So that's all you need to do to publish your polls onto the platform. You can type in your text, you can type in your information. I'm sorry, this is all you need to do to publish your push notifications onto the platform. It could be on a general format, or it could be on, you know, a feedback, a poll, or a Q&A, which would become more prominent in the auditorium. If you have your attendees who are not in the auditorium, so for example, I just navigated to the lobby. So in that case, you can send out a general notification that would be delivered to everyone. So that is pretty much all you need to know to configure any and all kinds of chats onto the platform. Next, we will be looking at the networking and the meeting room configurations.